जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनन्दन व्रज जन रंजना। यशोदनन्दन व्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनन्दन व्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा। कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा। जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय। गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस विश्वगुरु एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद इस डिवाइन ग्रेस शील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्भागवतम की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण रुक्मिणी सत्यभामा की जय। श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय। विश्वगुरु शील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 26, Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, verse number 22. Swachhatvam avikaratvam, swachhatvam avikaritvam, swachhatvam avikaritvam, shantatvam iti chetasaha, शांतत्वम् इति चेतसः, शांतत्वम् इति चेतसः, वृत्तिभिः लक्षणं प्रोक्तं, वृत्तिभिर्लक्षणं प्रोक्तं, वृत्तिभिर्लक्षणं प्रोक्तं, यथा अपां प्रकृतिः परा, यथापां प्रकृतिः परा, यथापां प्रकृतिः परा। स्वच्छत्वम् अविकारित्वम्, शान्तत्वम् इति चेतसः, वृत्तिभिर्लक्षणं प्रोक्तम्, यथापां प्रकृतिः परा। स्वच्छत्वम् अविकारित्वम्, शान्तत्वम् इति चेतसः, वृत्तिभिर्लक्षणं प्रोक्तम्, यथापां प्रकृतिः परा।
स्वच्छत्वम् अविकारित्वं, शान्तत्वम् इति चेतसः, वृत्तिभिर्लक्षणं प्रोक्तं, यथापां प्रकृतिः परा।
स्वच्छत्वम् अविकारित्वं, शान्तत्वम् इति चेतसः, वृत्तिभिर्लक्षणं प्रोक्तं, यथापां प्रकृतिः परा।
स्वच्छत्वम् अविकारित्वं, शान्तत्वम् इति चेतसः, वृत्तिभिर्लक्षणं प्रोक्तं, यथापां प्रकृतिः परा।
स्वच्छत्वं clarity, avikaritvam freedom from all distraction, shantatvam serenity, iti thus chetasaha of consciousness, vrittibhihi by characteristics, lakshanam traits, proktam called, yatha as, apam of water, prakritihi natural state, para pure. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Translation: after the manifestation of the Mahatattva, these features appear simultaneously. As water in its natural state, before coming in contact with earth, is clear, sweet, and unruffled, so the characteristic traits of pure consciousness are complete serenity, clarity, and freedom from distraction. Kindly repeat. After the manifestation of the Mahatattva, these features appear simultaneously. As water in its natural state, before coming in contact with earth, is clear, sweet, and unruffled. So the characteristic traits of pure consciousness are complete serenity, clarity, and freedom from distraction. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The pure status of consciousness or Krishna consciousness exists in the beginning, just after creation. The pure status of consciousness or Krishna consciousness exists in the beginning. Just after creation, consciousness is not polluted. The more one becomes materially contaminated, however, the more consciousness becomes obscured. In pure consciousness, one can perceive a slight reflection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As in clear, unagitated water, free from impurities, one can see everything clearly. So in pure consciousness or Krishna consciousness, one can see things as they are. One can see the reflection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one can see his own existence as well. This state of consciousness is very pleasing, transparent, and sober. In the beginning, consciousness is pure. Dasa in the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prayashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminitina Te Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mokam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Mande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Many years back, I had met a person who was in. So I had visited his place also. He had a nice setup, house in the midst of lot of greenery, and I saw all the interventions they had done. So for water conservation, the primary thing is that they want to collect the rainwater and use that for one's requirements so that we draw less from the groundwater. No, too many bore wells pulling a lot of water from the groundwater is getting depleted, a lot of concerns like that. So in the house, they had sloped roofs, and at the edge of every sloped roof, they have these pipes running. So whenever it rains, the water which collects on the roof as well as the sloping roof, whatever comes down the sloping roof, it is guided through pipes and taken to an underground tank where the water fills up. During the rainy season, all the water gets collected in that tank, huge tank. And that water they use maybe for 1 month, 2 months, whatever. So to that extent, the water they don't use from the ground like that. This is called rooftop water harvesting, rooftop rainwater harvesting. Then of course there is all this water which falls on the ground and then that becomes muddy, you cannot use that. So that water is water recharge pits we also have in our campus. You dig a certain hole within the ground and have filtration mechanism of pebbles and other things and allow the water to seep back into the groundwater through this method. This is another method. So normally what they do is they keep the roof very clean and neat so that water which collects, when it goes into the water tank, it can be used for various purposes. So I was asking about the contamination of this water. What happens to this rainwater you have collected in the tank? Is there not any chance of the water being contaminated with bacteria and all this kind of stuff? So that person said that actually rainwater by itself is actually distilled water. Distilled water is the purest form of water. The water which is lying in pools, ponds, lakes, rivers, oceans, all of this is evaporated by the sunshine. So that's actually the process of distillation. When you evaporate water, whatever is dissolved in the water gets left behind. So only pure water gets evaporated. That's collected as clouds and it again comes back on the earth. So you get pure water. So when it collects on the roof, if the roof is all clean, the water which collects in the tank will be more or less uncontaminated. So, but then, if still there is any chance of any contamination, I asked, do you have some UV filtration or RO plant or something like that? So he said all that is not required. He took a plain piece of cotton cloth. He said, take a cotton cloth, fold it once. Then you turn it around and fold it one more time. Like that, you fold it 8 times. If you fold it 8 times and put it under the tap and tie it to that, all the water that comes through it, even bacteria cannot pass through it. Simple mechanism. So you are free of all bacteria. And if you want, you can boil the water, so even to be even safer. So the government is also all over the country promoting these methods of rainwater harvesting, rooftop rainwater harvesting, groundwater recharge, all these kind of things to preserve water, to avoid wasting water. So we can see how water, when it comes down as rain, if you collect it, you can drink it, you can use it for cooking, you can use it for all purposes because it's pure water. But the moment it falls on the ground, it becomes muddy. Then without some sort of purification, you cannot use that water. This is the nature of water. So, in today's verse it is being stated, Yatha apam prakritihi, Yatha apam para prakritihi. Water by nature is pure. So when it descends by rain, the rainwater is completely pure. Distilled water, no contamination. Moment it touches the ground, it becomes muddy, it becomes contaminated. Similarly, at the beginning of the creation, when Mahatattva is created and consciousness is injected into the Mahatattva, it is pure. So this pure consciousness, it is characterized by 3 things, which is mentioned here. Swachhatvam, avikaritvam, shantatvam, iti chetasaha, vrittibir lakshanam proktam. Pure consciousness, unadulterated consciousness, uncontaminated consciousness has 3 characteristics. What are the 3 characteristics? Swachhatvam, it is completely pure. It is clear, completely clear, clarity. Prabhupada is translating Swachhatvam as clarity. The consciousness is completely clear. Avikaritvam, it is free from all distraction. And Shantatvam, it is very peaceful. It is serene. So these are the 3 characteristics of pure consciousness. Serenity, clarity, freedom from distraction. Shantatvam, avikaritvam, swachhatvam. So, when we speak of swachha consciousness, the consciousness which is fully clear, the clarity of consciousness is exhibited in the spiritual world. So there, what happens is, all the living entities are fully conscious of Krishna. The gopis, in one song, when they are singing in the Srimad-Bhagavatam in the 10th canto, it describes a song by the gopis. So the gopis are singing, Kastri Anga Te Kalapadamrita Venu Geeta. Kastri Anga Te Kalapadamrita Venu Geeta Sammohitarya Charitan Na Chalet Trilokyam. Trailokya Saubhagam Idam Cha Rupam Nirikshya Godvija Dhrumam Mrigaha Pulakanya Bibran. The gopis are saying that Krishna, they are speaking about Krishna. So when Krishna Kalapadamrita Venu Geeta, when he starts playing on the flute, the melodious notes which come from Krishna's flute, when he plays on his flute, they are so enchanting that the gopis are saying in the entire three worlds, there is no woman who will not get attracted to Krishna upon hearing that, the beautiful notes emanating from his flute. So even the most chaste women, whether it is Parvati, Lakshmi, whoever it is, they are very devoted to their husbands. But even if they hear the melodious notes coming from the flute of Krishna, even they will forget their vows of chastity and they will get attracted to Krishna. So, what to speak of us? We are simple village cowherd girls. How can we control ourselves whenever we hear Krishna's flute? That is what the gopis are saying. And not only forget about the women in the three lokya, in the three lokas. Not only that, in Vrindavan what happens? That when the go dvija drumam mrigaha, go the cows, dvija all the birds, then druma all the trees and plants, and mrigaha all the kinds of animals. There are various deer, there are other animals also which are there in Goloka Vrindavan. So when all these animals, birds and plants and trees, Trailokya Saubhagam Idam Cha Nirikshya Rupam, when they see this beauty of yours, this beautiful form of yours, Trailokya Saubhagam, which is incomparable in all the three worlds. When they see your beauty, Pulakan Abhibran, all of them become stunned in ecstasy. So you see, animals, birds, plants, trees, these are all called lower living entities compared to human beings. Why are they called lower living entities? Because their consciousness is not so developed. They cannot appreciate art. If you play a flute, some animals may appreciate. Deer may, they say that deer becomes attracted by good music. But if you go and play flute or some veena or mridanga in front of some fish, what it will understand? It cannot understand anything. It cannot appreciate. Similarly, you make a beautiful painting and keep it in a museum. Lot of human beings will come and they will appreciate, oh, what a beautiful painting. Now you bring one dog, one cat and show the painting. Will the dog and cat feel anything? It will not feel anything. Why? Because the animals, because of their lower levels of awareness, because their consciousness is not developed enough, they cannot appreciate beauty, good music, melodious music, all these things, art, they cannot appreciate. So that's the situation in the material world. But in the spiritual world, all the birds, all the animals, all the cows, forget all these animals, even the plants and trees, drumaha, even the plants and trees, when they see Krishna's beauty, they become filled with ecstasy and they become stunned. So you see, how is it possible that lower animals, like the deer, the cows, Shri Krishna Rukmani Satyabhama ki jai. These are all appreciating the beauty to such an extent that they are becoming filled with ecstasy, bhava, and they are becoming stunned. In this material world, we human beings, we are supposed to be, our consciousness is supposed to be most evolved. When we come to the temple and see the form of Krishna, Polakani Abhibran, do we feel any stunning ecstasy? We don't feel anything, isn't it? So, in the material world, the consciousness of even human beings is so much covered, we cannot appreciate the beauty of Krishna. Whereas in the spiritual world, even so-called lower living entities like plants, trees, cows, birds, peacocks, all the cranes, swans, all the trees, creepers, plants, all of them can directly appreciate the beauty of Krishna and the melodious notes of his flute. Why? Because even the plants and trees and animals, all their consciousness is also swachhatvam, swacha, they are completely pure, no contamination, like the distilled rainwater which is coming down, clear water. So the consciousness is completely clear there. It is not covered by the three modes of material nature. In this material world, according to the covering of the three modes of material nature, our consciousness also gets hidden to that extent. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks of three levels of covering of the consciousness. So what are the three levels of covering of the consciousness? Krishna says that one is Yatha Ulbanam, how the Yatholbena Avrito Garbhaha. One level of covering of the consciousness is like the embryo within the womb of the mother. Completely dark, no question of any light. This is one level where our consciousness is completely covered, totally dark. This is relating to living entities such as trees and plants, where the consciousness is very low. And then Dhumena Avriyate Vakhnihi. Another level is where smoke covers a flame. And then the third is Yatha Malena Adarsha, how a mirror is covered by dust. So if you have to uncover the darkness within the womb, it is not possible. The embryo has to come out, it has to take birth, only then the darkness is uncovered. Otherwise it is impossible to uncover the darkness. That's the state of the trees and plants. Whereas when you take a mirror, the dust is covering it, you have to put some effort. You have to take a cloth, wipe it, then put some water and all those things, then the mirror will become clear. So that's likened to the animals, where their consciousness is little better than that of plants and trees. The third one is Dhumena Avriyate Vahnisi, as smoke covers fire. So if you find somewhere a lot of smoke is coming out and you are not able to see the fire, what will you do? You will take some object and start fanning it. Moment you fan it, the flame comes out, all the smoke will disappear, isn't it? So simply by fanning, the covering of smoke goes away and the flame gets revealed. So this is like the consciousness of the human beings. So even human being consciousness is covered, contaminated in this material world. Just like rainwater, the moment it touches the earth, it becomes muddy like that. Otherwise, in the spiritual world, even so-called lower living entities also, their consciousness is also completely clear. They can appreciate the beauty of Krishna. They can appreciate the melodious tunes coming from the flute of Krishna. So much so that all the living entities in the spiritual world, they know nothing other than Krishna. For them, nothing else matters. It is only Krishna. And they are not even bothered whether Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead or not. They simply love Krishna, that's all. So this is pure consciousness, Swacha consciousness. On the other hand, in the material world, when the consciousness becomes covered, what happens? The characteristics become different. In the spiritual world, all the living entities, they know nothing other than Krishna and they want to only please Krishna. Whatever pleases Krishna, they are ready to do. In the material world, when the consciousness becomes covered, what happens? It is exhibited by a prominent sense of fruitive activity. We want to enjoy the fruits of our actions. We want to enjoy the results of our actions. So that is very prominent in the material world, which is a very evident symptom of contaminated consciousness. Whereas original consciousness in the spiritual world, there is no such desire to enjoy oneself. One only wants to provide enjoyment to Krishna. This is the difference. So now, when our consciousness becomes contaminated like this in the material world, what happens? We take different forms in different lives. Sometimes we are born as human beings, sometimes we are born as animals, sometimes as devotees, sometimes as plants, trees, etc. So every life that we take, every different form that we take in every life after life, what happens? Our consciousness also keeps changing. Today, I may be born as a man, so I may think in terms of my consciousness will be always running on that background that I am a man. Next lifetime, if I take birth as a woman, what will happen? Then I will be thinking like a woman. And after that, suppose I take the birth of an animal, let us say that of a dog. Then I will start acting like a dog. So you see, constantly I am changing my consciousness. Even within this lifetime itself, we can see, when we are young children, we think I am a child, I am a child, I am a child. And we are always interested in playing, we are very frivolous, all these things. This is natural for a child. Now when we grow up into young people, what happens? We cannot remain frivolous and all the time playing like that. If we do that, what will happen? Everybody will scold us. People will think, what is wrong with this fellow? Why is he behaving so childishly? Isn't it? If somebody tells you, why are you so childish? You will get angry. Hey, why are you calling me childish? So isn't it? So when you are grown up, you are expected to behave differently. So when you are in the body of a child, your consciousness is different. Frivolous, jumping around, frolicking, playing. But when you are youthful, your consciousness is different. You are full of energy. I want to do this. I want to achieve this. I want to make money. I want to become a big man, etc., etc., etc. And then when we become old, what happens? Our consciousness changes. At that time, our consciousness is filled with only chinta. Shankaracharya says, Balas tavat krida saktaha. As long as we are children, we are attached to playing. That's our consciousness. Tarunas tavat taruni saktaha. When we become youthful, a young man gets attracted to a young girl becomes attracted to a young man. This is the consciousness in the youth. We want to attract the opposite sex. And then, in the old age, what happens? Vriddhas tavat chinta saktaha. In old age, we are filled only with anxiety. What will happen to my children? How will they get settled? How will my grandchildren get educated? And in my old age, who will take care of my medical insurance? Who will take care of me if I am not able to do my things on myself, on my own, etc., etc. Mind is filled with anxieties. So you see, consciousness keeps changing with our body within this very lifetime. And when we give up this body, take on another body, again consciousness changes. So, material contaminated consciousness, nature of it is constantly changing. It is not steady. Whereas in the spiritual world, the pure consciousness, swachhatvam avikaritvam, it is fully clear and it is unchanging. It is constant. There is no change in the consciousness. Every day, day after day, the consciousness is only one thing: how to please Krishna. Right from the beginning of the early morning, when everybody gets up, till everybody goes to bed at night, everybody is thinking, morning to night, how to please Krishna, how to please Krishna, how to please Krishna. Whether it is the plants, whether it is the water of the Yamuna, whether it is the birds, whether it is the cows, peacocks, or the gopis, everybody is engaged in only one activity. And their consciousness never changes. So this is avikaritvam. And another aspect of material consciousness is, the third aspect is, as Prahlad Maharaj himself says, Naivo dvije paraduratyaya vaitaranyas. So he is saying, Twadvirya gayana mahamrita magna chittaha. he is praying to Narasimha, saying that Tvad-virya gayana mahamrita magna chittaha. My chitta, my mind is absorbed. Magnaha. It is immersed. Immersed in what? Tvad-virya gayana mahamrita magna chittaha. Tvad-virya, your glories, your pastimes, your qualities. In Tvad-virya gayana, by reciting your glorious pastimes, activities and qualities, my mind is immersed in the Maha-Amrita. Nectar or Amrita is supposed to be very, very sweet. And Prahlad Maharaj is saying, chanting your glorious activities and qualities and pastimes is Maha-Amrita. It is a very, very great nectarian activity for us. And because of constantly tasting that Mahamrita, great nectar of chanting your pastimes, Prahlad Maharaj says, Naivo Dvijaya Paraduratyaya Vaitaranyaha. Vaitarani refers to the ocean of birth and death, the material ocean. So that material ocean gives distress to all the conditioned souls. And those who are a little advanced beyond the material consciousness, they are all thinking, how can I cross over this ocean of birth and death? How do I get liberated? So, whether one is a spiritualist or a materialist, materialist is fully absorbed in the miseries of the material world. Tapatraya, 3 kinds of miseries. They are constantly harassing him. So whether it is him or a renunciant, a person who has taken the path of Jnana Marga, he has taken sannyas, he has given up everything to do with the material world, he is no more interested in the material world. So for him there are no anxieties with respect to survival. Materialist anxiety is what? The anxiety of survival. How will I continue my existence? How will I sustain my existence? That's the struggle for existence that is causing anxiety to the materialist. Spiritualist, a person who has taken the path of Jnana Marga, he has renounced the material life. So for him the struggle for existence doesn't exist. But even he is worried. Why? Because he wants to cross over the ocean of birth and death and attain mukti or liberation. That's his anxiety. How will I attain mukti? Prahlad Maharaj is saying, Naivo Dvijaya, I am not at all bothered by Vaitaranya. Vaitarani, this ocean of birth and death, doesn't give me any anxiety. Because I am absorbed in the Maha Amrita of chanting your glorious activities and qualities. But at the same time, Shoche Tato Vimugache Tasa Indriyartha Bharamudvahato Vimudhan. Maya Sukhaya Bharamudvahato Vimudhan. Prahlad Maharaj says, although for myself, I have no worry, I have no anxiety, I am completely blissful. Mahamrita, I am constantly tasting the great nectar, the incredible sweetness of that nectar of your glorious pastimes and qualities. I am absorbed in that. So I am not bothered, I am not worried. But still, Shoche, but still I lament. So why, if your heart is full of bliss, why are you lamenting? Shoche tato vimukache tasa maya sukhaya bharamudvahato vimudhan. I lament when I look at all the conditioned souls in this material world who are vimudhan, who are extremely foolish. Why are they extremely foolish? Because they are not taking up chanting of your holy names and your qualities and pastimes. Instead, what are they doing? They are running after maya sukhaya. They are running after illusory happiness. The happiness that is there in tasting the nectar of repeating the transcendental qualities and pastimes of Krishna, that is real happiness. The conditioned souls have forgotten that, they have given that up, they have neglected that, and they are running after Maya Sukha, illusory happiness. What is this illusory happiness? The illusory happiness of sense gratification in the material world. The illusory happiness of material relationships. And why this is illusory? Because asadgraha, these are all temporary, never permanent. All the happiness that we experience in this material world, I am experiencing because of this body, because of the senses I have in this body. This body itself is Nashvara. It is going to be destroyed at the end of this lifespan. So, what is the meaning of that happiness that I am getting out of the sense gratification? And in fact, when body becomes old also, or the body becomes diseased, it will become impossible to taste that material sense gratification. Just like, for example, if somebody gets jaundice, you go and give him in his jaundiced state, nice, very sweet gulab jamun. What will happen? He puts that gulab jamun in his mouth, he will feel it is so bitter. Why is it bitter, yaar? He cannot taste. You will say, no, it is not bitter, it is very sweet. No, it is bitter. Why? Because he is jaundiced, diseased condition. So, in the diseased condition, meaning the materially contaminated consciousness, when the rainwater has fallen on the ground and become muddy, that contaminated consciousness of identifying with the body, what happens? We are unable to taste that Mahamrita, and instead we search for happiness in the material sense gratification through our senses. And these senses are temporary. When it becomes diseased or when we become old, we can no longer taste that whatever little happiness we were tasting from that sense gratification, even that will be finished. So therefore, this is illusory happiness, Maya Sukhaya. And so if somebody is running after that Maya Sukha, okay, that is one thing. We are trying to achieve happiness in that Maya Sukha, illusory happiness. But the problem is, for that illusory happiness, Maya Sukhaya Bharamudvahato, we are undertaking very big endeavors, making elaborate arrangements, building big skyscrapers, building big aeroplanes, dreamliners. Eventually, all of them will crash one day and we will have to suffer. So what we are, with great endeavor, we are building for our happiness and satisfaction, that itself will become the source of our distress. So isn't it foolish? If I am putting endeavor and creating some object which will come and destroy me itself, which will give trouble to me, which will give distress to me, then what kind of intelligence is that? They use all their intelligence. It requires intelligence to create all the material facilities, to create skyscraper buildings, to create aeroplanes, to create all the modern facilities, the gadgets, the communication, social media, internet, all of this. To create all of these, it requires intelligence. But that intelligence we are using in what way? We are using it to harm ourselves. Just like sometimes the example is given in old aphorisms, it is stated how a man was seated on the branch of a tree and he was cutting that branch itself. Another man came and saw, and he looked at that man, Are Baba, you are cutting the branch on which you are sitting, you will fall down, you will hurt yourself. And this man said, Hey, what do you know, yaar? I know better. He went on cutting. Finally, he cut the branch and he fell down along with the branch and broke his leg. So, modern civilization is like that. We are inventing so many things, making elaborate arrangements, discovering or creating or building huge gadgets, huge monuments we are creating. All of them ultimately to give distress to us only. So, in this material world, as long as we are running after Maya Sukhaya Bharamudvahato, as long as we are running after this illusory happiness and engaging in hard labor to create objects of sense gratification to fulfill our illusory happiness, we can never be peaceful. So, peace can come only when our consciousness is purified. And not only that, some people become frustrated with all these endeavors in material sense gratification. Some people can make out. Some people who are very intellectual, who are very thoughtful, who are introspective, they'll figure out, there is no happiness simply going on struggling, earning money, taking care of the family, whole life struggling, one day die. What is the happiness in this? So some people, they are intellectuals, philosophers. So once one such philosopher met Prabhupada, and he was telling Prabhupada, I have read all the Vedas, I have read all the Upanishads, I have read all the Puranas, and but still, after reading all of that, no peace of mind, no shanti. Why is it like this? The man, He saw in the material world, in activities of sense gratification, there is no Shanti, there is no peace. So he thought, if I study all the Vedas, I philosophize, I'll get Shanti. But after reading so many Vedas, Puranas, everything, he's saying Ashanti. So Prabhupada asked him, okay, you read all the Vedas. Now who created the Vedas? That man was blinking. And Prabhupada said, who is that person? Do you have his address? Addressa. Who is that person who created the Vedas? His father and mother? This man is completely stunned. So Prabhupada said that, you see, this man has read all the Vedas but doesn't know Krishna. Then what is the use? Because Prabhupada, Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, Veda isya sarvair ahameva vedyaha. By studying the entire Vedas, you have to come to know Krishna. And this man, after studying all the Vedas, Puranas, he doesn't know Krishna. Then what is the use of his studying the Vedas? Therefore, he will remain Ashanta. On the other hand, if we don't read any of the Vedas, but we understand Krishna, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheswaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Jnatva Mam Shantim Richati. This is the peace formula Krishna gives. If you want to become peaceful, then you have to accept Krishna as Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam, as the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices and all austerities. And Sarvaloka Maheswaram, he is the supreme controller. And Suhridam Sarvabhutanam, he is the ultimate well-wisher of all living entities. Only one who accepts Krishna in these three roles can become peaceful. So if we are able to realize Krishna's position like this, that means our consciousness is purified. And so the third lakshanam, vrittibir lakshanam, the third symptom of purified consciousness is Shantatvam, will become entirely peaceful. Otherwise, it is impossible to become peaceful. Otherwise, in this material world, we are constantly hankering and lamenting. Shochati kankshati. So, as long as we are hankering and lamenting, either we are hankering for material sense gratification, or we are hankering for moksha, or we are hankering for shanti. And we are lamenting, I had this in my possession, I lost it. So, as long as we are engaged in this activity of shochati kankshati, lamentation and hankering, we can never be peaceful. Brahma bhutah prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. Samas sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. Only when we engage in pure parabhakti, unmotivated, unadulterated, unalloyed, pure devotional service to Krishna, then only our hankering and lamentations will stop. And when our hankering and lamentation stops, then what happens? Prasannatma, we become completely blissful. Why we become blissful? Because our hearts are filled with peace, shanti. No more hankering, no more lamentation, no more distress, no more anxiety, no more stress. So, swachhatvam avikaritvam shantatvam iti chetasaha. These are the characteristics of pure consciousness, completely clear. We have no other goal in life than to please Krishna. This is called swachhatvam, pure clarity. We know what is the ultimate goal. Krishna also tells in the Bhagavad Gita, Yam labdva chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tataha. Once we come to the point that Vasudevah sarvamiti, Krishna is the supreme source of everything, he is the cause of all causes, he is that absolute truth, he is the Parabrahman. When we understand that, then what happens? It is on that platform, when you understand this, aparam labham manyate nadikam tataha. You understand that there is no higher knowledge than this. There is no higher goal than this. There is nothing beyond this than to engage in devotional service to Krishna and to please him. So that knowledge, that state of consciousness is swachhatvam. It is completely clear, because you are very clear, have reached the pinnacle of spiritual advancement. There is nothing beyond this than to serve Krishna in loving devotional service. There is nothing beyond this. absolute clarity comes into the picture. Otherwise, you take any other process. You go to a jnani, he will tell, this is also okay, that is also okay. Yatha mat tato pat, everything is equal. There is no clarity. What is the supreme? What is the ultimate goal? Where do we go after we attain liberation? These things are not clear. Even for a jnani, forget about a karmi. Karmi, you go and ask him what you are accumulating so many things for your happiness and sense gratification. At the end of your life, you leave everything and you will die and go. After that, where are you going? He will be seeing stars. No clarity. Whereas when you come to the point of Krishna consciousness, you are absolutely clear. What is the goal? The ultimate goal, the ultimate perfection of life that we can achieve is to go to Goloka Vrindavan and become one of the servants of the Brajavasis there. So this goal is very clear in the mind of a person who comes to Krishna consciousness. So absolute clarity, Swachatvam, Avikaritvam, and that clarity, that purpose of life, purpose of existence to please Krishna cannot be shaken at any point of time. That is why Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita that Dukkhena na dukkhena gurunabi vichalyate. Even in the greatest danger, greatest calamity, our sense of purpose to please Krishna will not waver. It will not get disturbed. It will not get agitated. Whereas when you look at a karmi, when faced with a life-threatening situation, he'll become confused. Was I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? All my life I've done so many things for sense gratification. Was it useful at all? He'll be completely confused. Similarly, a jnani also, if he is not able to attain his mukti, he will also get confused. But a bhakta will never be confused. No matter what the situation, he'll be very clear, fixed up. Avikaritvam. There is no question of his purpose, of his existence or his goal in life getting changed. He is completely determined. His determination will never waver. And Shantatvam. Devotee is no more interested in sense gratification. He is not interested in pursuing money, fame, position, all these things which are the most desirable things in the material world no more attract a devotee. These things are not at all attractive. Moment we see somebody running after this, we know it's all temporary. After all, one day or the other, we have to die and leave behind all this and go. What is the use? So that attraction itself for material sense gratification will die. It will go away. So therefore, a devotee is Shantatvam iti chetasaha vrittibir lakshanam proktam yathapam prakritihi para. So that consciousness, when the jiva comes into the material world, when he is injected into Mahatattva, that consciousness is pure. But once he comes into the material world, he contacts the three modes of material nature. Then what happens? The consciousness gets perverted, and in that perverted consciousness, he engages in fruitive activity. Suddenly, he will develop attraction for the results of his actions. He wants to enjoy those results independent of Krishna. This is called contaminated consciousness or material consciousness on the bodily platform. So, even within that Mahatattva, even being within the material energy, being immersed in that material energy, which is our condition, if we take shelter of the lotus feet of a pure devotee like Prabhupada, and we engage in devotional service to Krishna, then our original consciousness can be revived. As it is stated, Srila Prabhupada often mentioned from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Krishna Bhakti, Nitya Siddha Krishna Bhakti Sadhya Kabanai, Shravanadi Siddha Chitte Koraye Udai. That Krishna Bhakti, that pure, uncontaminated, clear consciousness, in which we can clearly see Krishna is the object of my affection. Krishna is the only object of pleasure. He is the only object to whom I have to give pleasure to. When that consciousness is called Krishna Bhakti, and that is Nitya Siddha. That is the original, unchangeable nature of the living entity. Krishna Bhakti, Nitya Siddha Krishna Bhakti, Sadhya Kabana. It is not something to be obtained from somewhere. It's not that by doing devotional service, I will get Krishna Bhakti which I don't possess. No, that Krishna Bhakti is already there in me, but it has got covered. Just like water, when that rainwater comes down, it is distilled, it is pure, but it falls on the ground, it will become contaminated, it will become muddy. That same water, when the sun evaporates again, it will become clear. So clarity is already there in the water. That's the original constitutional position of water, to be completely clear and transparent. But in a limited condition, a temporary condition, the water becomes contaminated. Similarly, Nitya Siddha Krishna Bhakti Sadhya Kabanoi. So we don't have to acquire Krishna consciousness from somewhere else. Krishna consciousness, love for Krishna is already there within our heart. So Shravanadi Siddha Chitte Koraye Udai. When we begin by chanting and hearing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When we chant and hear Krishna's holy names, what happens? That consciousness will get revived. It is in a dormant state now. It is in a sleeping condition. That consciousness will again awaken, and our love for Krishna will again slowly start coming out. So therefore, we have to take shelter of the lotus feet of a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada and the holy name of Krishna, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And if we chant and hear that Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day, whatever our prescribed number of rounds are there, then eventually our original love for Krishna will come out, and then our hearts will be filled with Swachatvam, Avikaritvam, Shantatvam. Our hearts will become clear, they'll become serene and free from all distraction. Our focus will become, will develop single pointed concentration in serving Krishna and pleasing Him. Okay, I'll stop here. If there are any questions or comments, we can discuss. Yes, please.
Apart from chanting, is there any other way we can please Krishna?
Of course, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnoho, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Navavida Bhakti. 9 ways of rendering devotional service to Krishna. But out of all of them, Shravana and Kirtana are the most powerful, and they are the most important in the processes of devotional service. We can take up any one process and achieve perfection. But especially in Kali Yuga, primarily Shravana and Kirtana are the most important. If we chant Krishna's holy name and we hear Krishna's holy name, if we read the pastimes of Krishna in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and we hear about the instructions of Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita, we hear about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes and teachings from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. These are the most important processes in Kali Yuga to revive our forgotten love for Krishna. So, but other processes are also there. Smarana automatically comes whenever we are free or we are doing some activity. Smarana will come. We go out, we do some book distribution, we will remember this is for Krishna, this is for Prabhupada. Smarana is automatically involved in that. Pada Sevana, we engage in service of the deity in the temple. When we come to the temple, we help in cleaning the temple, or we help in some festival. These are all Pada Sevana, serving the lotus feet of the deity in the temple. So like that, there are multiple things which we can engage in. And all those things will help us to improve our chanting and hearing. We have to follow Ekadashi, fasting on Ekadashi. We have to follow the 4 regulatory principles. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. All these things will come. They will follow the chanting and hearing of Krishna's holy name. So there are 64 devotional principles to be followed, regulatory principles, 64 offenses to be avoided. All those things will automatically follow when we begin. The beginning is chanting and hearing, and the end is also chanting and hearing. So that's the most important process. Is that okay? Anybody else?
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. So Prabhu, we were hearing in previous lectures that there are 4 internal senses: mind, intelligence, false ego, and
contaminated consciousness.
Contaminated
Yes.
consciousness. So is this contaminated consciousness is the chittam that what we are in today's class?
Well, the word chitta is used in different can mean different things, has multiple meanings. One meaning of chitta is mind, another meaning of chitta is intelligence, another meaning of chitta is heart. So like that there are multiple meanings. So according to the context we have to take. Today this one says chetasaha, cheta. And that Prabhupada says chetasaha, Prabhupada translates as of consciousness. So pure consciousness, chetasaha, swachatvam, avikaritvam, shantatvam, lakshanam, vrittibir proktam. So of pure consciousness, of the pure chetas, the symptoms are clarity, serenity and freedom from distraction. So here the word cheta refers to, chetana refers to consciousness. So it depends on the context in which that word is being used.
Yes, Prabhu. So actually the Sankhya Yoga analyzes this 24 elements.
Yes.
Plus 25th element is the time, no, Prabhu, time element.
Yes.
25th element. So if the soul is beyond this, so like when it,
that's the 26th element.
So when it goes back to the spiritual world, so is this chittam, this contaminated consciousness becomes pure consciousness, or all these 24 elements will go away completely?
See, all the 24 elements are pertaining to the material world. So in the spiritual world, there is no place for all these things. Their original elements are there. Original water, original air, original earth, original fire. Why original? Because all of them are conscious. In this material world, Bhumi, Rapo, Analo, Vayu, Kam, Mano, Buddhi, Revacha, all these 8 elements, the 5 gross elements and the 3 subtle elements, earth, water, fire, air, space, these are the gross elements. Mind, intelligence, false ego, these 3 are the subtle elements. None of them are conscious. But in the spiritual world, earth, water, fire, air, space, all of them are conscious. They are conscious of Krishna. So they are the original. The earth, water, fire, air and space within this material world, they are perverted reflections of what exists in the original spiritual world. You understand? So when we go to the spiritual world, these elements are not required there. So you don't take them with you. But what comes with you is your purified consciousness which has awakened after clearing all the contamination of the bodily concept of life. Consciousness is there. The living entity cannot be without consciousness. Just like heat and light are inseparable characteristics of fire. Similarly, consciousness is an inseparable characteristic of the soul. So, consciousness cannot be separated from the soul. But at the present moment, because our consciousness has become contaminated with the 3 modes of material nature, it's called material consciousness. So, when that consciousness, that influence of the 3 modes of material nature is removed, then that pure nature of that consciousness comes out. Just like water, when it falls on the rainwater, when it falls on the earth, it becomes muddy. You distill it, it again revives its original nature. It's not that you have to, that water is some other water, the same drop of water only. Simply through the process of distillation, you purified it. Similarly, in the current condition, just like the earth is making the water muddy, like that the 3 modes of material nature, Rajoguna, Sattoguna and Tamoguna, have contaminated our consciousness. When we distill our consciousness through the process of hearing and chanting Krishna's holy name, all those muddy things will go out of the consciousness, and then our original consciousness will manifest, which will be characterized by Swachatvam, Avikaritvam and Shantatvam. Is that okay?
So that original consciousness is not the part of the 24 elements.
See, although consciousness is not part of matter, still when it is contaminated, it is considered one of the material elements. Consciousness per se is not material. Like I mentioned, it is the characteristic of the soul. Soul is not one of the 24 elements. But still, in the present moment, that consciousness acts in a particular way, which is demonstrated by the fruity mentality, that spirit of enjoyment, independent of Krishna, that spirit of enjoying the fruits of my actions, that's called material consciousness. So that is also considered as one of the elements, because ultimately consciousness is also not the soul. The consciousness is an inseparable characteristic of the soul. It is a symptom of the soul. But consciousness is not the soul itself. Soul is consciousness. At the same time, it is not. Just like you take a flame, you take fire. Fire is heat and light. At the same time, if you ask, is the heat the fire? No. Is the light the fire? No. The fire is independent. At the same time, you cannot say, oh, if then heat and light are not the fire, take away the heat and light. Then where is fire? So, fire is heat and light. At the same time, it is not the heat and light. Similarly, the soul is consciousness. At the same time, it is not consciousness, because consciousness belongs to the soul. So, therefore, soul is higher in that sense. Consciousness is an energy of the soul. You can say like that. So, therefore, although you cannot separate consciousness from the soul, when it is materially contaminated, it is distinguished. It is said that it is material consciousness. So, it is for the sake of analysis to be able to segregate the soul from everything else. This kind of segregation is done. Otherwise, what will happen if we say that material consciousness is also the soul, then that soul itself is material consciousness, then where is the question of liberation and going back to garden? So, in order to separate ourselves from the material world, that kind of distinction is made, that the material consciousness is also part of the material world. Another way to look at it is, in the spiritual world, there is no material consciousness. Therefore, that material consciousness is present only in the material world, where there is the fruity mentality, the desire to enjoy the fruits of one's actions. So, therefore, that consciousness is one of the material elements, because that kind of consciousness you will not find in the spiritual world. So, material consciousness or contaminated consciousness is considered one of the 24 elements within the material world. In that way also we can look at it. Is that okay? So, we'll stop here. Grantharaj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.